Week 14 here in the NFL. I give my reactions coming up next on Beyond the Locker Room. Week 14 is almost in the books. We have a big Monday night one coming up, Eagles Chargers. But Sunday's games have a few interesting twists, and we'll get into some of that. So let's get into the first game, the big game of the weekend probably. It was right there, Lambeau Field, Packers, Bears. It was a really good game. It started off a little slow, but boy, did it pick up in the second half. I thought overall the two teams were fairly even though it felt in my mind like Green Bay was moving the ball. I don't know. There's one of those visual things where Green Bay looked like they're moving the ball better, but when you looked at the score, it was like a one-score game. It was one of those type of games. So it was really interesting to see how that was playing out. I think also, too, I would say the talent of both quarterbacks were really on display. And some of the throws they were making, especially Caleb. I mean, in that third quarter, I believe it was the third quarter, or maybe early fourth, when he made the drive to get them within, I think it was 21-14 at the time, and he hit two crazy passes on the sideline, man. One for the touchdown, the one just prior to it for about 25 yards, like just fantastic stuff. And then later on in the fourth quarter, he threw it. Yeah, it was definitely the third quarter, because in the fourth quarter he threw one where receiver works his way away across the other side of the field, and he throws a dime here on the run. You can see the talent. Some of the stuff where they, is Mahomes-esque, let's put it that way, that people talked about coming out of the draft. You definitely see a lot of that coming through. Unfortunately, for him, the last play, essentially the last play of the game, when they're going for a chance to score or tie the game, he undercut it, threw a bit short, and unfortunately that cost him with the pick in the end zone. But I thought it was a bit of a coming out party for him. On the other side of the ball, I thought Jordan Love was really, he's a dude. Sometimes he might drive you crazy, a Packers fan, but he has a way about him where when it comes to the big games, he's cool as a cucumber, man. You don't feel a thing. And this was one of these days where he was really into the zone. He was focused. And I thought, both guys really played, especially the second half, really played a nice game. Turned out to be a really entertaining game. Tom Brady was out there freaking out. He's having a good time in that cold. But, man, if that's what we have to look forward to, those two battling out for the rest of the season for the 1 seed, Philadelphia saying, hold my beer. We're not done just yet. But, it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see. I mean, just on a side note for the NFC North, Detroit had a big game on Thursday. So, they're hanging in there. Let's put it that way. And I think that I said it from the beginning of the year, this NFC North is going to be something fascinating to watch. It has delivered on many occasions so far this season. I look forward to a few more games near the end of the season of what that looks like, man. It's going to be a lot of fun with that. I think just a couple other points there. The rush was getting out after Caleb pretty well, but I thought he did a good job of moving around the pocket, to kind of keep plays alive. I think earlier in his career, he was kind of running with less purpose in the pocket, and just it's kind of what we're seeing right now with Shedeur Sanders a little bit, and even he's figuring some stuff out. I'll get him my locker room takes, but I think when you see how he's moving around the pocket now, just from a year ago, he's grown so much in a lot of ways, and considering that pass rush that Green Bay has, it was pretty impressive. I thought, even though the numbers may not show it, if you're watching the game, you saw what that, hey man, he's gonna be something to deal with for the next decade in that conference. He's gonna be something to deal with. And Chicago still made some big plays, and some turnovers, able to make big plays like they've been doing all year on that defensive side. I think I think really they do have, if they can ever get home field, they will be a tough out, man, in Soldier Field if they ever can get the home field. But can they wrestle it away from Green Bay? That is the question we'll see. And as I said before, we can't forget about the champs. They're right in the mix as well too, as well as the Rams. So it's gonna be going down the wire for that 1 seed in the NFC. Game number 2. I picked this game only because my man Joe B is back. I haven't talked much about them this year in this case here. Bengals, Bills. Joe Burrow, I can't lie. There's some quarterbacks they have a way about them where it's like I find, at least I find, that you can't keep your eyes off them when they're watching. You know, some of them are much more obvious reasons, like say like a Lamar Jackson in this case here, but there's other guys, you know, where it's like there's a smoothness, there's just something about them where just cool as can be, and just fears nothing, man. And Joe B, my man, man. Oh my gosh, Joe Burrow, man. Yo, I mean, he was putting on some numbers there. It looked like they had the game sealed through a big pick late, unfortunately, but him and Chase and T. Higgins, man, that T. Higgins catch late in the fourth, that was crazy. One-handed grab with, you know, with the bill just hanging all over him. You know, like Cincinnati's going to be a spoiler, I think, as the season goes on. I think it's their last gasp to kind of getting back into the NFC North division for the title race, but they're gonna be a spoiler for the division and perhaps the conference. So if I got Cincinnati on the schedule, I am very concerned if I have Cincinnati on the schedule for any of their teams coming up. You know, I think for the Steelers, I think they're done with them. Thank goodness. They already put one L on us with Flacco, so that's good to know. With Joe Burrow back, you don't have to deal with that. But you know, the defense with them is always an issue, and it shows its ugly head again. Can stop the run when it came down to, couldn't stop Josh Allen, and he was spectacular. Going back to my point about guys in this case that your eyes just go to, yeah, Josh Allen's one of them dudes. And you know, like early in the season he was a little shaky, but they've kind of gone back to him on the run a little bit more, like how they did same time last season, where he's much more aggressive, looking for opportunities to run, and literally having set plays for him to run. Like, you know, they're not running from it, and maybe it's a decision by the Bills staff, you know, to make sure they just get past the first half of the year with no injuries, and then kind of as the season gets later in the season, they kind of let loose and, you know, unleash them a little bit more. They still have issues in the passing game in my mind with no real big time receivers. I think when you play better competition, better defenses, that's going to be a problem for them. You know, they put the ball on the ground too. They're still a bit too sloppy with the ball, you know, with fumbles and picks and stuff. I just don't know how you could get away with that in the playoff game. So that's another concern, and they're likely, we'll see. There's, you know, the win today kept them in the mix for, you know, a few weeks ago. This is how crazy the season was. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was like, it's looking shaky, like if they might not even make it. And now, you know, they rattle off 2 straight wins since then, and now, you know, they have an outside chance with a few games left with New England. I think one more game left with New England. You know, to potentially still get the division title. So, you know, and get that seed and perhaps a bye. So who knows? I mean, I still feel it's a bit of a long shot, but you know, they have a shot. They have a shot. It's all said and done. They have a shot. And you know, yeah, Buffalo's gonna be a fascinating watch because they're so Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what team you're gonna get from week to week. So who knows? You know, they could stink up the joint like how they did against Miami, or they come out like what they did yesterday against Joe B and put up 40 something points. So who knows? You know, and they were dead. It looks like, man, when they were down 2 scores, they were dead. So props to them. The turnover, everything turned around from that. Buffalo did their thing. Josh Allen did his thing. But once again, man, the defense is still going to be an issue, and you know they're getting points put up on them pretty frequently. And there's some flashing lights on the dashboard when it comes to Bills. I still say so. I'm not gonna stop saying so based on what I'm seeing week to week with Buffalo, win or loss. So that's where I sit with the Bills at the moment. Game number 3. I guess I gotta do it. You know, this is probably, it's not the longest rivalry, but I think it's probably the most intense rivalry in the NFL. Ravens Steelers. You know, this is a big game, obviously. First place on the line. I don't know what we got. I don't know what we have. I kind of know what we do, actually. You know, and I think with Lamar, we play a bit of a different type of defense with Lamar than we do against other teams. And there's a lot less blitzing from what I see. They kind of change schemes a lot more to confuse him when he's not sure when he should run or not. And I think that does cause havoc with him. So that, you know, for the most part, they've had his number. I think he's only won 1 time, maybe 2 times against the Steelers in his career. And that was a big win for Pittsburgh. I got to give credit, you know, to Tomlin. Like, once again, I said it before, he's getting his name. They're calling him everything but the child of God, in this case a week ago, you know, in the stadium. You know, I'll say this much about Mike Tomlin, man. And you can say about this, you know, his in-game decisions are, tactically this and that. One thing you never say about a Mike Tomlin team, they always play for their coach. Mike Tomlin always gets his guys to come out to play for him. Win, lose, or draw, they come out to play for him. Like, if the Steelers are gonna go down, they're gonna go down, but they're not gonna go down getting mollywopped in this case. They're gonna go down swinging, and props to them, man. Big win. They kind of have, they kind of control their destiny slightly. It's a slim margin, but they do control it. And they're one of the 4 seeds at the moment. They're not going to get by at this point, but they're in the mix. So we'll see. Baltimore on the outside looking in at the moment. It's tough when you lose that many games at the beginning of the year to get back into it. Ask the Dolphins, who are kind of the same boat, I think same record. So when you get that far behind the 8 ball early in the season, in the NFL season, this is not the NBA, this is not the NHL. You can't make up ground that easily. So it's going to be tough to see what Baltimore does for the rest of the season, because they're going to have essentially a first place schedule. So they're going to be playing pretty tough opponents throughout the rest of the season. So we'll see where things land with them. Lamar hasn't looked quite the same. I don't know if he hasn't had a ton of injuries, but the injuries he has, I do wonder a little bit if it's taking their toll on him. Like, I noticed it last year as well, too late in the season. Like, he doesn't seem to have that burst where he could just explode, and he looks like he's just floating on air. It seems to just be a half step slower, and I can't put my finger on it. And maybe some of you guys, put your thoughts in the comments below. As always, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate the thoughts on what your thoughts on what you see from Lamar, because he does seem a little off. I think it started from last year. I don't think it's just something just coming back from injury and getting a rustiness. I think there's something more going on there, where maybe he's been in the league for about a good 6-7 years now. That just flat out age might be what we're seeing, and not saying he needs the run. He's a fantastic quarterback, period. But like, it is a dimension of his game that makes him, truly special in that sense. So, something to watch out for. Be it Raven fans or just NFL fans, to watch to see what we're seeing there. So we'll see where things go with these two teams. Because it's been up and down all year with this division. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, and see who finishes up strong. Locker room takes. I'm gonna have one locker room take. And first thing I say is props to my Seahawks. Quiet possibility for the 1 seed. Quiet possibility, folks. My Seahawks rolling out the Pacific Northwest. Be wary, folks. The 12th man is back. Be wary. Can't believe I'm saying this, but it's Sam Darnold, so keep that in mind too. That's why I haven't really been pumping my chest up too much, because I know who my quarterback is. My buddy's a Vikings fan. He had the great experience last year. He believed me. He was not impressed with the Minnesota Vikings last year throughout the season, because he knew who his quarterback was, and boy, did he deliver for him last year. So I am very much aware of what the possibilities are with the Seahawks. Really, I want to discuss here that I mentioned earlier. Shedeur Sanders, he had a great game, threw for over 300 yards, had 3 touchdowns, 1 running, I think 2 passing. And you can see the growth happening with him, even within the pocket, of when he knows when to take off, when he knows when to get rid of the ball. He's starting to figure it out and get used to the speed. And this is what happens when you have young talent. If they're talented enough, they'll figure it out. And, considering his pedigree, who his dad is, he's going to get some things figured out pretty quickly, I think. But my gosh, only now. You see, come here, folks, Beyond the Locker Room, when you want to get the things, you get down to the bottom of things early. All right? Don't wait to watch you on ESPN this Monday morning. Now folks asking about Kevin Stefanski. Now they're asking, what did I tell you folks about 3-4 weeks ago? This dude's a joker. Those two 2-point conversions are some of the worst plays I've ever seen run, especially the last one. So let me get this straight. I got the chance to tie the game. I think it was a tie the game or even to win the game. I think it's a tie the game. And you're going to tell me that you're going to take out your quarterbacks and played so well all day not to give him the chance to kind of see what he can do and give him that honor, since he played so well, to bring you back. And he gives it to a bloody receiver, in this case here, running around with his head cut off, for a play that, in true Cleveland Browns fashion. And let me tell you something. Shedeur, man, I tell you, man, I mean, I hope you got a good head of hair on your head, man. I've come home a long time ago, man, but play with them dudes, I've never seen a team have so many receivers that drop balls and fumble balls as much as the Cleveland Browns receivers. And balls hitting their heads. It's ridiculous, man. Yo, man, Cleveland drafts some receivers, man. Seriously. I mean, I don't know. Shedeur doing all he can. Had a chance to go and tie it, and the man takes the man out. You tell me this coach in this case here don't have an issue with this young man? Come on, man. This coach is a clown. Sorry, man. Clown City. And the faster they fire him at the end of the year, that's it for. I don't be calling for folks to get fired too often, but sometimes when I see ridiculous stuff like what I saw that on Sunday evening, I got to call for what I see. Or Sunday afternoon, I got to call for what I see. What I see, man. That was ridiculous. That was malpractice. I'll leave it there. But as I said before, if you want to get to the pulse of things before the ESPNs and the Fox Sports get to it, come see your man right here, man. Beyond right here, man. Because I was telling you about Stefanski for weeks before everyone's now jumping on his back. He's a clown. Anyways, I'll leave it there, folks. Once again, you can find me on that crazy place called X, Blue Sky, and of course Facebook. And you can find me right here on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Once again, we're getting the momentum. We're building. Appreciate the support, guys. And we'll talk soon, man. Take it easy. Keep it locked. Peace.